Thank you. Chairman Milley, last week in front of this committee, both the CNO and the Commandant, General Berger, concurred with Admiral Davidson's assessment that we have a growing risk of a PLA invasion of Taiwan within the next 6 years, which is an alarming timeline. My understanding, is that you've sort of publicly disagreed with that timeline. I'd be curious to get your alternative assessment and the justification for it. But, I mean, would you agree with just the basic idea that the PLA's capability is growing, that the unification of Taiwan with the mainland is a legacy issue for General Secretary Xi, and that this creates problems for our deterrent posture in Indo-PACOM?
Yeah, so what Davidson and Aquilino and others have said is that Chinese capability to invade and seize the island of Taiwan is being accelerated to 2027, 6 years from now. I don't dismiss that at all. What I said was near term. In my definition, that's 1 to 2 years. I don't see China. They could make decisions, whatever they want to do, but I don't see it happening right out of the blue. There's no reason for it, and the cost to China far exceeds the benefit. And President Xi and his military would do the calculation, and they know that an invasion, in order to seize an island that big with that many people and the defensive capabilities that Taiwanese have, would be extraordinarily complicated and costly. And at this point in time, near term, next 12, 24 months, I'm not seeing the indicators and warnings yet. Could it happen 6 years from now, 8 years from now, 10 years, 20? Sure, a lot of things can happen. The Chinese are clearly building capability. There's no question about that. They've been doing it for quite a while, and we're monitoring it very closely. And that gets back to this budget. We need to continue to get this budget through, get it done on time in order for us to keep pace with the Chinese and stay ahead of them. We want overmatch in order to deter a great power war and stay at great power competition.
Recognizing there are limitations to the format we're in right now, just given your position and the time you spent interacting with your counterparts in the region, is your and understanding that that to some extent the intentions of Xi himself and the party in general are unknowable, and a lot of things could change in the environment. What is your basic sense of the priority that the CCP and the PLA put on Taiwan, and to what extent, as I said before, it's bound up in Xi's personal legacy?
I think both are true. I think the issue of Taiwan and the unification of Taiwan with mainland China, I think that is a core, I said it before in previous testimony, CORE, a core national security interest of China. And it's also a core national security interest of the United States to ensure that whatever happens with respect to Taiwan happens peacefully, and we don't have a general conflict in the region or globally. So we support, with the Taiwan Relations Act, et cetera, for a peaceful resolution of the issue between Taiwan and China.
And I completely agree with the sentiment you just expressed about, and I think it's a shared goal on this committee of deterring such a conflict as one of our core priorities, because it would be messy indeed. Which is why earlier this year, Indo-PACOM submitted to Congress a detailed request for exercise funds, training ranges, military construction, munitions, defensive Guam systems. But the Pacific Deterrence Initiative, as requested by the department in this budget, consisted of non-Indo-PACOM specific list of procurement items, including a destroyer, some jet fighters, a logistics ship. What caused the difference between the two versions of PDI? Why were so many of the top needs identified in the Section 1251 report, that's Indo-PACOM's report, mostly or completely unfunded in the budget request?
Good.
Secretary.
Yeah, so our intent is to realize the intent of Congress and resource PDI in accordance with what's been laid out. I think there are some miscommunications in terms of how things were been. We're working with the committees to try to clarify that now, and we'll continue to do so. But the intent is to make sure that we follow along with Congress's intent with the PDI.
And then, I mean, in my remaining 25 seconds, I'm tempted to ask Mr. McCord a question only because he's gotten off easy.
Do it.
I think you should.
But I don't have enough time for my Army end strength question for the chairman. So instead, I will yield back my 12 seconds and hope that somebody gets Mr. McCord on the record.
Thank you. Mr. Carbajal.